simple and short introduction to puppetry and what it means to be a puppeteer. All puppets are based on 4 very simple types. We have a rod puppet, string puppet, shadow puppet and a glove puppet. And around that there's lots of variations. So today I'm going to show you an example of each of those puppets and show you a little bit about how to manipulate them. Glove puppets are really simple, sometimes known as a glove puppet or sometimes known as a hand puppet, simply because your hand goes inside like a glove. Now I'm sure you'll be aware of like Punch and Judy type puppets. They're worked like this. They're Chinese glove puppets and they're worked with 3 fingers in the middle, and then these fingers are to either side which the hands go onto. Chinese glove puppeteers start at a very, very young age. They can actually get this pinky finger to go out on the same right angle as the thumb. I'm afraid I can't do that. Or the type of glove puppets I like to work are worked like this. So 2 fingers in the middle, thumb at one side and 2 fingers at the other side. It gives you lots of variation of movement, and you can use your wrist to become your puppet's waist. So I've got a simple glove puppet here. So I'll put my hand inside. This one's a left-handed glove puppet. When I make glove puppets, I would always work with them either left or right-handed, simply because if you cut the shape of the body on a left or a right hand style, then you find that you get a little bit extra movement in it. So this one here, its head is made out of lime wood, carved and then hollowed out with a hole in the bottom to put my fingers into. She's just got some embroidery thread here to be her hair. I've used an old glove to be her hat and some little beads for the eyes. When you're putting eyes on a puppet, if you put something that's got a little bit of a shine in it, you'll find that the puppet gets a little bit more life about it. Now, the body I've just made from fabric, actually an old tea cloth, and the hands are made from a piece of leather, but you could use cotton or any type of fabric that you get. You really do ideally need a sewing machine to make a glove puppet like this, because it's quite important that you get all the seams to be quite strong. So if I'm making a glove puppet, what I do is I lie my hand down on a piece of paper in this shape on the paper, and I draw around it, and then I just adjust the shape with a little bit more space to get my hands comfortably inside. And you can see that basically if you turn your fingers from side to side, you get the puppet to look either way. And then this little joint at the top of your fingers works the head to move the head up and down. Your thumb works one of the hands, other 2 fingers on the other hand, and your wrist, that forms your puppet's waist. And when I'm working a glove puppet, I would work with fixed point, which is basically I would either fix the puppet to one position by locking my hand in and move her around that space, or I would fix myself in a very solid position so I can work and keep her on the same level. Because the thing that you don't want to happen when you're working a glove puppet, you would normally be working with a playboard, so you don't want your puppet going up and down all the time, unless she might be climbing some stairs. You want to keep them on the same level, so if you fix and lock your arm in position, that works really well. Oh yes, oh yes, oh my dear, oh hello. And then you want to find a vocalization for the puppet as well, find a voice for her, and then project all of your energy into your hand and into the puppet. So it's not like acting on stage, it's quite a different type of technique. You're putting all of your breath and your focus into the character. So you have to believe the character is alive and real in order for your audience to do the same. So this is a glove puppet. This is a rod puppet, simply because there's rods on the hands and there's also a rod inside the body. This is a very traditional puppet, used a lot in Eastern countries, and they're very popular to be used in shadow as well as in full physical form like this. They're quite simple to work and they're very expressive because you have rods on each hand. And you move them from the middle rod. So you can see this one's all made out of wood. This is a traditional one, not one that I've made myself. And there's little string attachments that go to the hands. Or a variation on that would be a Sicilian rolled puppet that has a rod out the top of its head. Or you would have, this one here is fixed, I can actually take the head off, but you might use a rod that sits in it that you can work independently from the shoulders, that gives you a little bit more movement. But this is a simple, this is actually a variation on the rod puppet again really, but it's a tabletop rod puppet. The rod this time is in the back of the head. It's also based very lightly on a Japanese style of puppetry, Bunraku theatre, and that's where you would have a rod puppet, but it would be almost life-size, 3/4 life-size, and it'd be worked by 3 puppeteers. And in Japan they have well, it takes a really long time to become a puppeteer. You can spend your whole life before you're a master puppeteer. In fact, it takes 21 years before you're allowed to work the puppet's head. The first 7 years of your apprenticeship, you work the hand, or then you move on to the foot, eventually you get up to the head, and then you're known as a master puppeteer. And that puppeteer would be the only one that's allowed to perform without a black hood on, because all the other puppeteers are head to toe in black, including a head covering. So this one here is made from beech wood, and it's worked on a tabletop, and he's all carved in different sections. I'm just going to take off his outfit. You can see he's got all his bits. He is made in sections that move and are fixed to various joints of rope and string. You can see on his arm here, he's got a metal piece into his shoulders and a loop of string that goes through to attach him there. He's got an elbow joint, and he's got a piece of rope that actually goes down to the wrist as well. His legs, he's got a hip joint that's been put onto a bar of doweling inside, and he's got a knee joint and a little joint in his foot as well. And he's worked on the tabletop. He's worked by holding him here on an open stage, so you can see me when I'm performing with him. And I'll just take him down to ground level, but as I say, I normally work him on the tabletop, and he's worked direct manipulation. That's what this is called, when you actually attach completely onto it. Ooh. And this is a tabletop rod puppet. You'll be familiar, I'm sure, with string puppets, or the other name for them is marionette puppet. So this one here, also another one that I haven't made. This one actually came from Prague. Prague's got a really big tradition of puppetry and marionette theatre. So this one here, you can see the strings go to each area with the strings on hands, and that is on a rod that's here, so the hands can come out. So I would use my fingers to pull these out. There are strings attached to a rocking bar. This is a rocking bar that's put on there down to the puppet's feet or legs. Now that's really important, because that's where you get a lot of the movement, is walking. I'm sure you're familiar with things like the Thunderbirds and stuff. They were known for that particular string puppet walk that they had. And then the head is attached around the ear area up to this control bar as well. So this is called a control for your marionette. So often there'll be this like this, or animal ones, or some of the other more traditional ones too are put on this angle. The strings are very important. Stringing a marionette, dacron is really good to use, and that would be fishing, the black fishing wire that you can get, or a really thick, strong cotton, like I would use that, like a button cotton would work really well. The control is quite important, but if you want to make a really simple one, if you just had some doweling sticks or rods and made a crossbar with them, you'll find lots of things on the internet about how to make a very simple control for a marionette puppet. Tie the strings up, and you can experiment. You can make a really simple one. You can make a marionette out of a ball and a handkerchief. All you need is a ball at the top, and you put the strings onto the 4 corners of the handkerchief, and that would be a really simple, good starter one for you to play with. So a puppeteer for marionettes is called a marionettist, and they're very particular. They've got very particular skill. I don't use string puppets much in things because I can't really deal with all the tangling. If you're storing a string puppet, then you tend to twist it round like that. That, in theory, stops all those strings from tangling. But this is a string puppet or a marionette. So puppets don't have to be complicated. You can make a puppet out of the simplest of things. This is a puppet here that I've made from a piece of paper. And you can see, just by forming a head shape and arms, there's not even a joint in here. I've literally just screwed up the paper to form an elbow there. I've got a little tie at the end to get the wrist. I want to show you how simple it is to make a puppet. So this is just made from a big sheet of paper, and the head, everything. There's not even a defined face on this puppet, but really it's all about the movement. For the most important thing about puppetry is not so much the puppet, it's about the puppeteering. So that's what you really need to work on. You need to spend time looking at the focus of the puppet. It's really important that you, even if your puppet hasn't got any eyes, you imagine where the eyes are. So you think about the puppet's focus. And the weight. Imagine, even if it's light as a feather, then where the weight and how the puppet moves. And you really need to have that focus of your own onto the puppet too. If I'm sort of looking around me and scratch my head, and then you're going to watch me, because I'm obviously going to be much more animated than a piece of paper is. So you really need to create that energy and breathe life into the puppet. And a really good exercise to start with puppetry is if you start with a piece of fabric or a piece of paper or something, and find the breath in the puppet. So you're taking the energy from your own breathing and you're finding a breath and a focus in the puppet. So the puppet can breathe too. It's a tiny little movement, but it's breath that gives us life, and breath that will also give your puppet life. So that's some really simple ways to manipulate a very simple piece of paper or piece of fabric. So I'm going to show you how to make a very simple puppet from some basic objects. I have a teapot, so I'll take the lid off it, and I have got a shirt here, and the shirt is just put onto an ordinary coat hanger. So I'm going to turn the coat hanger bit to the side. I'm going to use the teapot. Now I have put a little black mask onto here. I'm going to just hook it onto the back of my teapot like that. And with the shirt, I will put my hand into the bit that's got the bit for the button. And then I have an object theatre puppet. Oh, my name is Mr. Potts, Mr. Teapots to you. And when I'm working him, if I was standing up, my legs also become his legs. So if I go up just here, you'll see I can then use my own legs to be his legs. And that's a really simple object theatre puppet. This is object theatre. And with this style of theatre, I've got various objects that I put together in order to create a puppet. And what's most important about object theatre is the puppetry, the movement side of it. So here I have an old doctor's bag, a Gladstone bag. And around it I've got some belts. So I'm just going to take the belts off here and open it up, because I've created a character just from bits and pieces. So first of all, we have a tail. And then from inside the bag, there comes a head of the character attached to a chain. So this I attach then up to the bag. And you may be able to tell that we've got a bag, and this is a very old bicycle seat. Underneath here I have a pair of old tongs, butcher's tongs actually, and the whole thing's attached to a chain, and when I lift the whole character up, when I've got them together, you can see he's got belts, and the belts form the legs on the puppet. So this is a wolf that I use in a show called Little Red Riding Hood. The wolf. With his long, strong legs. Sharp, pointed teeth to fight. A long, bristling tail. A cold, wet nose to sniff. Ears that can hear the smallest leaf fall